to have a uppgift here. Good luck. Good luck.
Okay. Year 43 AD. Romans invade Britain and Britain becomes a part of the Roman Empire.
Bautica leads the Iceni in revolt against the Romans.
Roman conquered Wales in the north.
The year 122 to year 100 AD. Emperor Hadrian builds a wall on the Scottish border.
Romans conquer Scotland.
St. Alban becomes the first Christian martyr.
Year 306 AD. Constantine the Great declared Emperor George.
The Picts and Scots attack the border.
The Romans withdraw to Britain. Anglo-Saxon migrants begin to settle. Year 401 to 410.
The Roman army left Britain about 410 AD. When they had, there was no strong army to defend Britain, and tribes called the Anglo-Saxon and Jew, the Anglo-Saxon invaded.
The Anglo-Saxons were a people who inhabited Great Britain between about 415 and 1066. The term Anglo-Saxon is also used for the language, more correctly called Old English. It was spoken and written about by the Anglo-Saxons in England.
The history of the Anglo-Saxons is the history of a cultural identity and how this developed from divergent groups. The migrants were Germanic tribes such as the Goths, Angels, Angles, Saxons, Lombards, Sabri, Frisi, and Franks.
First Viking attacks happened in Dorset, 793 after Jesus Christ. The Viking Age in Britain began about 1,200 years ago in the 18th century and lasted for 300 years. The first Vikings came from Norway, Denmark, and Sweden.
The Vikings were great travelers and sailed to other parts of Europe, where they trade and often died.
Men kom igen Max.
Nej.
Det hade jag som
Säg något
säga.
om vikingar bara.
Nej.
Nej.
The medieval period lasted from the 5th to the 15th century. It began with a collapse in the Western Roman Empire. The Battle of Hastings was fought on 15 October 1066 between the Norman French army and the English army under the King Harold. During the war, Harold got hit by a lucky shot from William of Normandy and basically became the King of England. Harold's death constitutes the foundation which the medieval period rested on. The Battle of Hastings took place 7 miles northwest from Hastings, close to the present-day town of Battle in Sussex.
Okay.
Nej!
Ja, men vi kör då. The War of the Roses was a war that lasted for about 30 years. The House of York and the House of Lancaster fought for the throne of England. The House of York ruled Britain for about 20 years during the war, but the final victory was won by the Lancasters when they killed the Yorkist king Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. The Lancaster king, Henry VII, also known as Henry Tudor, married Elizabeth of York, and thereby united the two houses. Will this marriage anew ever be gone? The Tudor. Sure.
Okay. During this war, a lot of weapons developed into something new, and new weapons were used. For an example, the British halberd, which was a combination of a two-handed axe and a spear. It was simply used to cut down charging horses and then stab the knight who was riding on the horse while he was on the ground. A new weapon that also developed was the British longbow, which drastically changed the war tactics during this age.
A normal misconception about the medieval times is that the full plate armor for knights existed long before they did. For example, King Arthur, which he lived in the 5th century or 6th, is often displayed with a full plate armor, which did not exist at the time. Basically, you ran around with animal hides and sticks and stones. The first full plate armor was found in was built in about 1430, and they were very common in the 1500s, but then became obsolete when firearms were developed in the 1600s.
Henry VIII was the most known of the Tudor kings. He was a very selfish person, and by the end of his life, very many was afraid of him, mainly because he was ruthless behavior to everybody he seen. And he was very rude.
The Stuart period was between 1603 to 1714. During this time, the English civil war took place in the reign of Charles I. The parliamentaries was victorious in the end, and Charles was executed in 1649.
After the war, the Stuart monarchs were displaced for a while for the Commonwealth of England. The rule of Stuart lasted from 1649 to 1660, but after 1653, Oliver Cromwell was the one who unofficially ruled.
Oliver Cromwell died in 1658, and England returned to normal. The Provincial Parliament welcomed Charles II to return from his exile as the new king, which he did. He was the son of the Charles I.
The Anglo-Dutch wars were a series of 3 wars. They took place in England and Holland. These wars were going on from 1652 to 74. When England was defeated, Charles II was forced to sign a contract for peace and led to Dutch domination of sea trading around until 1713.
The Victorian time began when Victoria became queen, and it ended when she died.
And she became 8 years old. Victoria married with Prince Albert, and when he died, she became kind of depressed, so she went into a period of sadness, when she only wore black the rest of her life.
Bra.